All right, well, welcome to Atlanta, Mr. Carter.
Yes, sir.
It's been a minute, but we're here to introduce you guys to Inside the Books, brand new podcast. We're gonna be going deep, man. I had to take a deep breath to even get to this point. So, where the whole concept for Inside the Books came from is I wanted to get into the rental car industry. Me and my wife, we talked about a few things. I bumped a few ideas across a couple people. I thought the easiest way to entry for me was to buy somebody's established rental car business. I already had history within the car business, but I thought that would be the easiest entry into the rental car business. And I needed to get inside their books. And when I asked to see the books, they didn't really want to show me the books. So, they told me that the profit margins were X, Y, and Z. I'm not going to go deep into that. So I just needed to see, what was coming in, what was going out, what percentage of the sales were cash, what percentage of the transactions were credit cards, because cash you can't really track. So how can I really know what the business is bringing in and what's really going out if I can't really track the cash and you won't let me see the books to understand what's really going on? So decided not to go that route. Then me and Dave, who's also my brother, we started having some conversation. And then I was just thinking Inside the Books would be a great podcast to do, because not only will we touch on entrepreneurs, but everybody has a story. And to me, that's their book. That book is inside of you. So we want to turn those pages and get deep inside the book. Love it, man. Yeah, it's such a dope idea. And it's episode 1, first one out there. I think that your story is an incredible one. I always admired you. This is my little brother, but honestly, on a business standpoint, man, this man has done some incredible things in his life. And so I think to set the tone for what we're trying to pull out of our future guests that we have coming in, we're going to jump it off by digging in a little bit into how you got started, as much as you can tell about the early days, and where you're at and where you want to be and your goals and where you're headed and how you plan to get there. So I know the story, I know everything. But let's start from the beginning. Let's start from young Trey B from Harbor World. So where are you from? And for those that don't know, and let's start there. All right, we're going to do the modified version because we'll be here for 2 days if we tell
right.
the long story. But, at the end of the day, I'm ShaVarr Brown from a small town called Newcastle, Pennsylvania, outside of Pittsburgh. So some people would say they're from Pittsburgh, but NCPA, Harbor Heights Projects, that's where I grew up at. First 20 years of my life between Westview Terrace and Harbor Heights. Had a brief stint to actually experience living in a house that didn't last too long. I ain't going to go into what happened there because it's personal family, but, just say, we were back into the projects pretty quick. But growing up in the projects and not having much, that helped shape who I am today. And, from a young age, just really wanted more. Started off young playing pity pat. A lot of people don't know what pity pat is. You match a couple cards, and once you don't got no cards left, you win. And, me and my guy, Chuck Dennis, we were taking the old heads. We had little tricks. If you had a king, I'd say, where's Kev at? If you had a jack, like, man, Coach Johnny was
hustling from a young age.
Q was like, man, Quincy was going off at practice. So we were young, just trying to get it how we could get it, trying to turn $20 into $1,000 so we can go buy those sneakers that, our parents couldn't afford. So, from a young age, just that hustle bustle was there, and, that entrepreneur spirit, I want to say I was about 8 or 9 years old and actually made my first $1,000. We were selling candy in school. I remember when Shock and Sherbert first came out, we were getting bricks, not cocaine, but bricks and gum. There were so many packs within a brick, and we were selling those pieces of Shock and Sherbert for 65, 75 cents a piece. And we actually ended up having people working for us selling candy in the different grades because there's multiple lunch periods in school. And, that was my first taste of really running the business to scale, and, ran that up to about $1,000. But by the time we got up to the next school, they shut that down because they sold candy and stuff in school. So that was like the first taste of entrepreneurship.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's wild. And talk about your love of cars and how at a young age, you had a vision, and how that play out for you.
Cadillac, man. They used to call me Cadillac VAR. I love Cadillacs, and 14, 15 years old. Got my first Cadillac, paid $1,800 for it. It was a 1981 Fleetwood, Trues, no Vogues. I couldn't afford the Vogues, but I had the Trues. My man Turk Maceo, He had the Vogues on his, Billy D had his, but, I had my Trues. I didn't have my Vogues. Didn't even have leather, but I had that Fleetwood. And, that was my first experience with a car. I wasn't even old enough to drive. My Uncle Quincy would drive me around, but got that first Cadillac, and I had a vision to just create my own car lots and wanted to be like one of the biggest car people in the world. Of course, that didn't happen, at least not yet, but definitely was able to make my way into that industry. But it was a journey before I even got there. Worked at a company called Reese Teleservices in Newcastle, and they wouldn't hire me for nothing. I applied there multiple times, and they just got tired of seeing me. So eventually they gave me an opportunity to work there, and that's when I figured out that I was really, really good in sales. We were selling the old T-Mobile. It was actually called Stream Wireless, and it was very hard to get a sale. This was way back in the day before I had all the gray hair and everything. It was hard to get a sale. Most of the people struggled to get a sale every 2 days, and I did pretty good with it where I was getting 2-3 sales a day. And then I started teaching people how to get the sales, and it was really difficult because you're calling these customers up. You don't have their name, their social security, their address, or anything, and you want them to get a cell phone that they can't visually see. We were selling the latest tri-modular cell phone with the interchangeable faceplates. Yeah. So what's your favorite color, Dave?
Blue.
Blue? Okay, I'm going to give you a blue faceplate. Do you have a significant other?
Yeah.
What's her favorite color?
Pink.
Okay, let me see some. I only got one pink left, but I like you, Dave, so I'm going to give you the pink faceplate. So it's going to feel like you got 2 phones. And the great thing about these phones are they're tri-modular. What that means is they pick up anywhere. So any tower, you don't got to worry about not having any service. So I'll never like to mess anybody's name up. So can you confirm this correct spelling of your last name?
Got it like that.
Okay, I got the last 4 of your social. I'm not allowed to repeat it. So can you just confirm your whole social security number for me?
And see, that was a trick right there because it was a problem getting people to give their social security numbers. So
right.
early game like that, just assuming the sale, assuming you already got it basically. And then they don't have a problem confirming it. So tricks like that.
Right. So that was like the start of it. So that established me as a true player in that call center and gave me the opportunity to be able to do some mentorship. And I'm like young, just figuring it out. But my success there led to me to be able to do more things there and be a mentor in the Bay. Shout out to Ivan. That was my first soup. And I thought I wanted to be a trainer. So I figured out what happened in training, and I couldn't change up the content. So then I said, okay, I shouldn't be a trainer because I like to do the remix, and you had to stick to the script. So I was like, okay, I can help in nesting. Nesting is like when you come out of training in a call center, and it's the time before you go to production and you're still new and you got this additional support to try to help you and prepare you to go to the actual floor. So did that for a while. And then I was selling clothes and CDs because, we thought we were going to be the next big thing, team deck.
Yeah.
So it worked out because on lunch I would sell the CDs and the whole 9 yards. So it was like I got a job, provide me income. I got clientele to sell my merchandise. And then I still had this vision of these cars, and I wanted to Escalade when they first came out. Couldn't afford the Escalade, so the next best thing was the GMC Yukon Denali. So saved up some money to put that down payment down. Thanks to Mike Mansour for being able to hold that vehicle for me while I was putting the funds together for that.
Shout out to Mike.
Then I was trying to get my family out the projects and get into my first house. And how I came upon the first house, I was selling biweekly mortgages. So, you gotta, when you're trying to accomplish something, you just gotta get it how you can get it. And biweekly mortgages is basically just setting somebody up on a structure to where instead of paying your mortgages monthly, you're doing it biweekly. And by doing it biweekly, you can shave 5 to 10 years off the life of that loan. So my second client for the biweekly mortgage was trying to save on this new house, but she had an old house. And so I started asking questions about the old house, and she said she needed to sell it. And I asked her if she ever heard of owner financing, and she said no. And then I explained owner financing, at least as much as I knew about it at the time.
Right. Hold on. That's what I was going to say. So how did you get into biweekly mortgages? Where did you even pick that up from? Because at this time you hadn't actually purchased your first house mortgage-wise yourself, right?
No, I went to a seminar.
All right, go ahead.
Way back in the day,
that's already that's right. That's what I was about to say. So right then you were already understanding the power of investing in yourself and learning. But yeah, that's dope.
19, 20 years old at the time.
Right.
But you got to invest in yourself. So I get her set up on that and talk to her about the owner financing. And told her I had some other deals in play. Like, I didn't have any deals in play. Like, you just got to be creative and go with the moment.
Right.
So, I told her based on where the house was, I think $4,000 would be a good down payment. Asked her what her payment was and if she owed any taxes or anything. And she had her taxes insurance wrapped up and, one payment. So she was like, can I do $6,000? And I was like, I got 2 other deals pending right now. So we do this owner finance deal. I'll do a balloon payment for you in 36 months. And then, we came up with a number and she agreed to the $4,000. Keep in mind at the time, I don't have $4,000.
All right.
I didn't even have $2,000. I was like $1,700 and some merchandise is what I had. Told her we needed to do 45-day closing. And she was like, you're going to get your lawyer to write it up for me. And I said, I'll talk to him and see what we can do. I didn't have a lawyer.
Right.
So, I told her we'll do $1,000 earnest money. And then at the end of 45 days, she'd get the rest and we close or whatever. So I went to Staples, bought me a purchase agreement, went to somebody I knew who was in business and had them walk me through and fill it out, called her up. We signed the contract, got a certified check for the initial deposit. And now I was off to the races. So now I know I had this time. I need to come up with the money to get the truck and come up with the money to get the house. And I had 45 days to do it. Had a picture of the house, picture of the car up in my cubicle.
Nice.
And I'm getting busy. And, and that was like my motivation to pull those 2 things off. And the reason I wanted the Denali, because what we were doing. So perception. Right. So we want to be these big hip hop artists and we got to have the best car that there is right now. So that was like our business card. If I can pull that car off for us, that's going to help us sell more CDs and do what we were doing in the music side of things. So ended up getting the house. It was a 2-bedroom, really needed 3, but it was a house on a good side of town. So that was a great accomplishment. So pulled that whole deal off, then continued my grind. And I want to say 90 days after that, they shut the site down. Mm-hmm. So I had just got promoted, making $12 an hour, felt good. And, had my side hustle going on with the clothes and then selling the CDs and the mixtapes and all that good stuff. And then Chris Ungarino comes in with an announcement and says they're shutting down. And he says, I do have a little bit of good news that we're taking the top 15% and giving them opportunity to go to either Johnstown, PA, Oil City, PA, or Indiana, PA. I hadn't heard of any of those places at the time. Mm-hmm. And so I did some research and found out that Oil City was the closest place out of the 3, which was still over an hour and a half drive. The bad news is that promotion I had, making $12 and some change, reverse, gonna make $7.52 an hour. Wow. Drive an hour and a half and make $7.52 an hour. So that was like.
So you're on the phone still at this point, right?
Nah, I got off the phone.
You were off the phone.
To an LDR, that's what they call a leadership development representative. So that was my promotion, on track to become a supervisor. So I was actually promoted at this time, and then this whole situation happened. So now I got to go from being promoted to taking the $3-4 pay cut, and starting all over again in Oil City, PA. But, the saying everything happens for a reason, and going to Oil City actually, changed my life, and, we wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for that part of the journey. So
right. No, that's crazy. That was fun times too.
I knew I couldn't afford to go there by myself because of the cost. So I got 2 other people to go with me, and then we split gas and made that transition. Started up there. Started out horribly because I wasn't paying attention in class because I thought I was the Don Juan because everything I was doing back at the other site. I'm like, I'm selling long distance now. I'm selling cell phones before, so this is going to be a cakewalk, and it wasn't. So thanks to Angelo Tyson for giving me some additional training after training to help me get my mind right. And that's like having the right mindset is so important. When you think you can just do things because you're successful in one area, you got to be coachable and teachable. If you're not teachable and coachable, that can stop your blessings. So if he wouldn't have given me that second chance, I don't know what would have happened.
So what year was this around too? Because I know the numbers are crazy. We're in 2021, and you know what I mean.
2002 or
so the minimum wage back then was like
between 2001 2003. I can't remember. It was a long time ago.
Yeah, it was. So it was like back then $12 an hour was different back then. Yeah. Especially coming from a small town that we came from. All right, so cool. So you made that move there, reestablished yourself, and then eventually made it to the supervisor role. Right, you got there, and obviously you were mad successful there. So talk about some of your success and the things that you did from the supervisor role.
Yeah, so I was able to get to the point where built some relationships. It didn't start off that way. It was rocky because you have people already established at this site. Then you got these few people coming from Newcastle. Then I started bringing more people on. And I just had like a little army down here, and we were all like doing pretty darn good. So they didn't really like us. Mm-hmm. But then they saw how genuine I was with what I was really trying to do. Once I got the opportunity to coach and develop people, it took me about 4 or 5 months, was able to get promoted to supervisor. And, that was the beginning of something great. And, partnered up with a guy named Jesse Benson, who we butted heads crazy at first because he thought he was, King Jesse and didn't want to work together because I'm big on that teamwork aspect. You can be an individual contributor, but once you're a contributor of others and you bring that collective together and you start to work together, that's how you can really build some long-term legacy stuff. So kept trying to tap in with him because I seen how good he was doing. I just felt like if we worked together, we could create something big. And there wasn't many of us African Americans there, so I just felt like we should stick together. Not to throw a race thing out there, but just calling a spade a spade. So he was negative and wasn't trying to hear anything I had to say. And then one day I went to him like, I'm making more money than you, right? And he real cocky and arrogant. He's like, no, you're not. I'm like, yeah, I am. And I showed him my pay stub. He's like, well, how'd you do this?
Yeah.
So
we had this conversation last night too with Jesse Benson. Yeah.
So broke that down, showed him, gave him some scenarios. Then he started talking about some techniques he was doing with coaching. And then from that moment on, we were like Voltron, and we just turned that site into something different and changed the whole culture in this small city. It really had a lot of people abusing drugs and in abusive relationships. It was a bad situation. And we just changed the whole culture and dynamic of that city.
Yeah, it was. It was too. Yeah, at some point I came down there, and it was, man. I mean, what y'all guys had going on was amazing. And I worked at call center since I was 16, off and on, and but I'd never seen anything like the vibe that y'all had going on. And obviously you got the sales skills and stuff, but the whole the way you had these people motivated to do this job, and how excited they were when they get a sale. You had the whole bay screaming out, you know what I mean?
Cut the check, let's go. That was the thing. You get a sale, you're yelling, you cut the check, and you just got to motivate the people and tap into why somebody's really in the situation that they're in. Because some people come to a job for a paycheck, some people come for the show. You got to think some people never experience any recognition in their life.
Right.
Somebody came from an abusive situation. You don't know what somebody's background is. So,
and this is a town that, for those that don't know, this is a town that's north of Pittsburgh, a couple hours north of Pittsburgh, probably about 2.5 hours, probably north, or about 2 hours north of Pittsburgh. And it's just a town that was hit by, there was still, one time it was oil there. That's why it was called Oil City, but it's in the middle of nowhere and there's really nothing out there. But, so a lot of these people didn't really have hope. And, this is the best thing going as far as this call center. But I don't think they've seen anything like this either, as far as how you guys taught them how they could improve their check and get their money right, from this little town. So, all right. So then from the call center to, you were eventually doing that. And then, so you got the car lot eventually, right? Is that where it went from the?
Yeah, but the car lot don't come without the impact and everything that happened in Oil City. So that's why I kind of went this whole direction with the story, because you got to understand how it all really came to life. So now we're doing pretty good. And anybody that ever worked for MCI, that's the account we were on. MCI was very lucrative. You could make up to $150 a day, and it was paying you in American Express, Amex, real time. So we were getting money at a level we hadn't seen before and turning it up to like high levels, to where like our checks were so big, the small bank didn't want to cash it. And we were young. We weren't establishing bank accounts or anything. We're just cashing a check and rolling and spending, having fun. And only thing I really had for my kids, I had these $1,000 CDs. It wasn't much of nothing. And then, of course, I'm still selling the clothes a little bit, but it was more of my CDs. And I had a connection on some jerseys and I lost that. So then it was kind of like nothing to sell but the CDs and just more focused on the job. And then one day my car messed up. I get a quote and it's close to $1,000 to fix it. I got like 1,300 and some change to my name. I'm like, scratching my head, like I'm making all this money. Like, what am I doing? Because I'm spending it as fast as I was getting it. And from that moment, it clicked in my head, like, get back focused on what you said you were going to do. And I was saying that I was going to get this car lot and going to continue to be my own man and my own boss. And instead of just having side hustles, turn these into real businesses. And my next check took care of what I had to take care of. I had $213 left. Drove from Oil City, PA to Cleveland, Ohio, to a store called City Blue. My guy Simi gave me a deal on some stuff on the clearance rack. Got that stuff, took it back. Because remember, what's old in a big city is new to a small town.
Clothes-wise, we're talking about clothes.
We're talking about clothes now. Yeah, so clothes-wise. So I took that $213, invested it in some clothes, came back, made a little less than $600, rinse and repeat. Did that for a good 5-6 months and turned that $213 into $10,149. And when I got over that $10,000 mark, I took $7,000, bought 2 cars, and then the other $3,000 continued to invest in the clothes. And my goal was to try to get $50,000 to $60,000 and then find somebody to partner up with me. And we start the car lot with $120 grand. And didn't see the 50, but made it to like 42.5. And then, actually had a chance to start this used car lot. And
so real quick, I have a question because what I find interesting, man, is how you remember all of these numbers. You know what I mean? Down to the dollar. You know what I mean? And we're talking years ago. So was it like, were you writing down goals? And is that how you, I know you're nasty with numbers anyway, but I mean, were you writing down goals at the time?
No, I mean, the number goal, like I need to get to this number to be able to start this business.
Right.
And, just saving and keeping track of everything.
Yeah.
And then, basically what I did was I got my license with another dealer. He let me get my car salesman license, and that's how I was able to sell the car. So it was like, try before you buy it. So before I go all in, because, it's key, I always want to tell people, you punch somebody else's clock until you put yourself in a position to punch your own. And, back then I thought I was ready and it seemed like I was ready. In hindsight, I probably should have stuck around a year longer, but, I didn't. So when I got to that magic number, that's when I left. But before I left, I put in for 30 days worth of vacation, because I had a boatload of vacation and tested the water to see how much I could make. And, I sold 3 of my own cars and sold 4 cars for the guy who had my license through. So I was like, oh, I'm making more money in this time than I make in 2 months at the call center. So I can do this. So I went in and put my notice. One of the people in charge was like, you're making a mistake. Don't do it. I can hold your job for a little bit because that ain't going to work. But it was time to bet on myself. But once again, if I didn't have that job and wasn't able to punch that clock until I put myself in a position, I wouldn't have been able to do what I did, because I think I used it 2 ways. So one, I was selling the clothes at the job, selling CDs at the job, selling the cars at the job. My first few car sales came from the job also. So this trip down to Oil City was the best thing that could have happened to me, because it gave me a different outlet and, really motivated me, to do more. So fast forward, I leave, we get the car lot started, we're doing decent. We're in Youngstown, Ohio, then eventually we come to Newcastle, and, we did decent. Thought we could do buy here, pay here to everybody. It's going to be the big buy here, pay here king. You get a car. Wasn't validating the right stuff. Didn't have the right systems and processes in place. But over time, understood it better and got stuff in place, but just didn't do it fast enough. And then ultimately the credit crisis came. And at that point, so now we got the car lot, and then I got 6 or 7 properties. Well, actually it was 4 properties, but it was 7 units, and, ended up losing everything. So, had a good run for, a couple years, making good money. And then, just boom.
So yeah, it was like that credit crisis hit, and that just changed the game and everything. So what did you do to maintain? Because eventually we're going to get to the bounce back and where it started. So, all right. So
it really wasn't. It was maintain. It was just trying to like I don't know what's next.
Right.
Basically, was dang near homeless to a point. Living in a house that had a good foundation. That's the thing. Like, we look at things the wrong way. The foundation has to be right in order to really grow and progress. But a lot of times our culture, we want to look at the flashiness of things. So, even when you take it into real estate, so you have this house, the outside looks good, the inside looks good, but the foundation isn't right. The mechanics isn't right. The plumbing isn't in place, so there's no running water. So we got to go to relatives' house, fill up jugs, and come back. I mean, it was a mess. But that's our mindset at a young age, and what we need to change. And part of what I do with my coaching and development and things I've been doing in leadership all these years is try to help people see the other side of the coin. And, once again, it's like we're getting inside the books. Like you have to get inside and understand what's really going on and talk about the good, the bad, the ugly, and show people that there's another way. So stayed there, got this job at VXI. Jesse Benson, we connected back. He told me to come to Lubbock, Texas, but then they opened up a site in Youngstown, Ohio. So that's where I ended up working, and took a long time, but eventually got to bounce back. But
and all these years, you're developing people too, though. So that's important.
Yeah,
like 'cause your background, I mean, that's where you learn. A lot of it is just through trial and error, I'm sure. But like you were developing agents and supervisors.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of people that I helped develop, I end up reporting to later because I left. Remember, I left the game to go do the entrepreneur thing with the car lots, and they continued to work in the call centers. And then I came back. I had to start over. I had to take a big slice of humble pie and take a $26,000 salary when that wasn't going to do it for me. But I did it, and through the course of that, went into some deep depression. Thought I was a professional gambler. I was killing them in blackjack for a long time, and then that got out of control. Just went on a losing streak, and it was just like downhill spiral. Nobody knew what I was really going through because I wasn't showing that things were as bad as that they really were at the time. But just had to really buckle down and focus, like, what's next. So when I made that decision to shut down the other car lot in Ohio and just go all in after the job, I said, I gave myself 6 months. I said 6 months, I'm going to get promoted to the next level. But until then, I'm going to figure out their bonus structure and what I got to do to maximize this bonus.
Stop thinking, hold on.
And, keep it moving. So go through all of that. Short sale on the house. I called the bank up, work out a deal with Chase to do a short sale so I can get rid of my dream home. And I have it on my credit. So work that out, got rid of that dream car, let them come repossess that. It was just, truly losing everything. But I really, as I look back on it now, I didn't really lose anything. God took it all from me because I wasn't seeing clearly. And when I say I wasn't seeing clearly, I mean, it got to the point where I even lost my sight, partially blind in this eye. Like, God stripped me of everything because I wasn't following my spiritual gift. And my spiritual gift is the ability to have people bought in and follow me, and how I was living at the time. I just feel like that isn't the route that he wanted me to go. So he stripped me of everything and made me start all over. And, that's my take on it. That's how I feel about it. And, went to this company and took that humble pie and, busted my butt, started developing myself, signing up for multiple courses, getting certified with the John Maxwell team, a lot of other certifications around leadership development, reading a lot of books, 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, started working on Six Sigma. So just really trying to equip myself with everything that I'm going to need to help propel myself, because my goal was like, I need to get my manager status back that I had before I left that old company. So I get that back. That's going to help me get in a position to be able to pay off some of this debt, because my pride stopped me from filing bankruptcy. So that was kind of like my target. And that didn't work out so much at first, but I figured out how to maximize on the bonus. And, I was bonusing like more than my check. And once again, now here we are. I'm in a situation where I'm not the boss, but I'm the leader. I'm leading people. I'm developing people. I'm help selecting who should be in these prominent positions and really help establish the company in Youngstown. And, the work we did in Youngstown was nothing short of amazing. 3,000-4,000 people came through those doors over the course of years, and we completely revitalized the downtown city of Youngstown. Whether they give us credit or not, you look at what was happening before 2009 and look at what happened, the 7, 8, 10, 12 years after. You can see the proof in the pudding. Unfortunately, most of those key players that help put all this stuff in motion and help create a lot of jobs and opportunities across the country, we're all kind of doing different things now. Time passes and, God takes you in different directions.
Right. And, I know a little bit more. We won't get it too much into, what happened there. But, eventually, I'm sure you took a lot from that. But eventually, some things happened that weren't necessarily kosher at that job. But, again, you had to end up taking lemons and turn it into lemonade. So let's go from, all right, so you got the job here at VXI. get back on your feet a little bit.
And I take that to a whole nother level. Basically, take over this company.
Right.
You know, but do it in a way where I wasn't being disrespectful or didn't think that I was the guy. I just was playing my part, but acted as if until I was to get everywhere I needed to go. So, just to be transparent, if, you know, minorities and women, it's harder for us to get promoted in the corporate world. So, you know, I had to say, how do I set myself apart to get where I'm trying to go here? And came up with some solid plans, and that development was key, you know, investing in yourself. Without investing in yourself, like, I know I wouldn't have made the moves that I made. But once again, the success that I had and the relationships I built with the clients allowed me to try different things and be a part of different programs, because I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid to fail. Failing is a part of winning.
Right.
You're going to fail your way forward. So,
and I mean, really to get an understanding of where you came from. I mean, so from the bottom, the kid in the projects, you know what I mean, selling candy and whatnot, you know, school at lunch, to eventually at this company. I mean, you were, you know what I mean, having talks with owners, and I mean, you made it to the top of the, basically, you know, maybe a couple more steps higher, but I mean, from the bottom, doing what you were doing to the very highest level.
Yeah, I mean, that's why
of this game.
Right. And that's why it's important. And, you know, when people come to me for coaching and development, a lot of times they're coming, you know, want to know about real estate, want to know about the rental car game and all that good stuff. But I have a level setting conversation, because I need to understand, like, what your goals are and where we really need to go with you. Because once again, I'm proof that you could make 6 figures on your own while still having a 9-to-5. But it takes, you know, patience and discipline, and it didn't happen overnight. But my experiences and everything that I learned, I can help equip people to be able to pull off these type of plays. But most importantly, you know, if you come to me, we're going to figure out what you need, because it might be meant for you to work and maybe get some investments on the side. So let's figure out what we got to do to make you promotable at your job and all that good stuff. So it's important to be able to take a person from A to Z and understand, you know, what lane they fit in by asking a series of questions, so you can identify, you know, the strengths and weaknesses and some of the dreams and aspirations from people. But, you know, it was a money play for me to grow, get to another level at that company, because I wasn't making the money that I got used to making. So a job for a client service manager came up, and I said I wanted to get that position, and people were laughing at me. People I associates, I thought they were friends. They're like, you can't be, you know, client service manager. What do you know about client service? Blah, 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 blah. But when I look at the description and the relationships that I were building with the client, I felt like I was perfect for it. But they were right, because I never got the opportunity to be a client service manager. I actually ended up being a regional client service director, managing multiple accounts. But, you know, I had the opportunity to take a lot of accounts where we're either going to lose them, or got opportunities to bring new business in and start them from scratch. And basically because these were lost accounts, they basically like, here, you go run with it. And it was like, if it don't work, I'm like, see, that's why we don't do X, Y, and Z with these kind of people.
Right.
But if it works, like, see, we're brilliant. That's why we got ShaVarr in place and other people in place. And
well, you said accounts too, real quick. These are companies, some of the largest companies.
Yeah, can't disclose names because, you know.
Right.
Confidentiality, but, you know, we're talking Fortune 500 companies in the BPO space, which is business process outsourcing. And, you know, that's the job is, you know, we're hired on as partners, and we need to grow their inbound, outbound business, whether it be customer service, retention, things of that nature. And really, like, all the years spent at these 2 companies, because from 1999 up until now, I've only worked for really 2 companies and myself. I'll say a third one, but I'm coming up on a year with that third company. So, you know, really only 2 companies and myself this whole time. But that was my Harvard, my Yale.
Right.
And how I mastered the art of business, because I get to do it on their dime. I get to try out different things, put different structures and processes in place, put people in different scenarios, and run different leadership development programs, and understand financial acumen, business communication, all the good stuff.
You learned it in the field.
Right. In the field, real time, hands on.
For real. Yeah.
And invest in myself as I see areas of opportunity, because I wasn't getting no coaching and development. So that's why everybody that came through my team, you know, we called it team revenue. I wanted to make sure that I really develop people and put them in a position that, once they left from working with me, not for me, I always like to say working with me, they can say, you know what, I took something away from being under that regime. And I'd say, probably 97% of the people that came through those doors all those years in those multiple cities can say, I definitely helped impact their life. And they also helped impact my life, because without them trusting and believing in me and following that direction and us growing in different accounts, I couldn't have continued to grow. So, once again, for everybody out there to think you can make six figures at a job, you can. I think I started at a job, $7.52 an hour.
Everybody's worst enemy, a telemarketer.
Then 18,000, 24,000, 30,000, 35, 40,000, all this bonus, but the bonus isn't guaranteed. Then start all over. Then running my business, making $10,000, $12,000 a month, feeling like I'm rich. Then starting all over, 26.5, and then go from 26 to 35 to 42 to 50 to 55, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, and we ain't gonna talk about where I'm at now. Right. But once again, it was a process, and they almost tricked me into spending 40, 50,000 and going to get these additional degrees. But instead, I got specific certifications. So I spent under $25,000 on my development that helped me maneuver within the job force. I mean, I'm over 65,000 now in development on myself, between courses, different mentorship that I've been a part of, conferences and everything. And, that's a lot of money to invest in yourself. But once again, when you invest in yourself, it helps sharpen your tool belt, because I'm always want to continue to grow. And that's what helped me be successful and continue to move up the ladder and build relationships with multiple clients and multiple different industries, is because I never was satisfied. And I never thought that I was like unfireable because of the success I had, because at the end of the day, you're only as good as yesterday. And the whole time I continue to have businesses on the side.
So let's get into this a little bit too. So, also throughout this, so you had to reinvent yourself a couple of times. And then this last time, as a big part of that, I'm sure, is you had to figure out how to reestablish credit, right? Because you got hit with the whole credit crisis and everything. So talk a little bit about that and how you learned how to, rebuild this thing and get this thing going to the point where you can start businesses again.
Right. And it's funny because, I used to always say it was my pride, but really was that man upstairs, that I didn't file bankruptcy. I didn't want that on me, but that was really him in my ear. And I didn't know it at the time, because if I'd have filed bankruptcy, I'd have never understood how to fix credit. And since I didn't file bankruptcy, I learned how to fix my credit on my own. And then I started helping people fix their credit at the job. Because once again, these are things that we're not taught. And like, one thing that people don't know, some of the biggest business out there is colleges and prisons. But it's not publicized and talked about a lot. But those are two of the top businesses. Colleges and prison. Colleges and prison.
Right.
So much money generated through that. And a lot of people go to college for the wrong reason. Nothing wrong with college, but you got to think about it. Some people are going to get the checks. Some people are going because someone in their family told them that they needed to go for this specific reason. And that's just not it. And then you're going, and now they're offering you credit cards, and you don't even have a job, but they're giving you these credit cards, and now you got student loan debt, then you get this credit card debt, and then you graduate, which a lot of them don't even graduate, but you got this debt, and now you're going to get a job that isn't even related to the field that you went to school for.
Yeah.
So I always tell people, take a step back unless you got a full ride, get in the field for a few years, figure out what you want to do, and if it determine that you need a college education, then go at that point. Otherwise, you could probably get a certification. So now my credit's all jacked up, and I got to figure out my next move. But doing that short sale saved me a lot, because that would have put me under. That was one thing, being creative enough to call the bank and work out a deal. Call the bank, work out a deal to return the car. Still ended up with negative equity, but it wasn't as bad as it could have been. But the house and the car both worked through Chase. So, I had a good relationship with them, was able to work with them. To have reduced debt. That short sale didn't show up on my credit, but the repo, a little bit did after the fact it was sold. So had about $19,000 in bad credit cards, had a couple bad loans, and let them all default. So I was derogatory city. I was like a 420 credit score. I didn't look at it for a while, but the thing is, like, when you do good business, your credit score don't matter. So you can still get credit it's just not going to be at the rate that you're looking for when you establish those good business relationships. So it's like, I couldn't pay everything because people stopped paying us, but I made sure I paid the right people.
So yeah, I mean, and that's crazy. I mean, you know, just so everybody could soak that in. At one point, you were 400 some credit score.
Yeah,
you know, to where you're at now. So
400 couldn't get nothing from most places, but I still was able to get a car and a house because of connections from being in that industry and doing good business and making sure the right people were paid. So once again, if you ever get in a rut and you got to let some stuff go, know who to pay. There's only so much in the pot, so somebody got to get paid. So make sure you're paying the right people. So basically, I just started doing research and how to dispute things and how to write dispute letters, how to call, negotiate, paper delete, and all the different scenarios like this. But this was like 2 years after the fact because I was just done, wasn't worried about credit. And then I needed a credit card to take a flight at work. I needed a credit card to pay for some stuff and get reimbursed. I didn't have it. You know how embarrassing that was? So now I'm at an executive level and I don't have a credit card. I got a Money Network card from work, and you know, it was so bad living check to check for a while, you know, those first couple of years at the job, to where you had this Money Network card. If you have $5 on it, you could fill up your tank and then you'll be negative until the next payday. So that was my little trick to make sure I had gas to get me back and forth. But no one knew because of the way I carried myself. And then I started working on, you know, my credit and worked out some deals. So like, for instance, I had one card, it was $1,800. I called them up, negotiated a $350 payoff on it. It was, you know, 3 years in the holes with a collection agency. So negotiated that payoff, made them send me a letter saying that they were going to delete it off if I paid. That's pay per delete. They did that. And then that's when I'm like, wow, I can do this with everybody. So then I just start calling, trying. They shut me down some. But majority of them were taking. So every payday, I was just like, okay, this is what I can afford to pay. Let me try to work out a deal with this one, work out a deal with this one. So a few of them took it, a lot of them didn't. So I just left them alone. But what I did do is I, you know, got myself a secure credit card and put $500 on that secure credit card to help reestablish me and, you know, get my credit going. So I did that one. Then I waited 3 months. Then I go do another one. And then I do a secure loan. So now within 6 months, I got 3 positive trades showing, you know, these 2 credit cards and this loan. You know, it's my money, but this is how I helped reestablish. And then a few things start falling off. And then I started renegotiating again. Then I got some off. And then there were still like 3 negative things left on there. But now I started getting credit offers. So I got Credit One and Capital One. So those were the first 2 regular credit cards that I got back again after my journey. So now I got 2 positive credit cards. So now I got 5 lines, but my biggest credit line is only $1,000. So I'm like, this isn't really going to get me anywhere. So then I looked at what I had left negative on there. Sears was one of them. But I noticed they gave me that card when I was underage.
Okay.
So that's how I got out of that. And two other things. Yeah. They had my birthday on there as 1980.
Wow.
And I was born in 1981.
So gotta go.
So I was able to dispute the addresses. Those accounts weren't opened up accurately, and got those off. And then the last 2 things I had on there, which one was that vehicle and another one was a personal loan that I had. I let them fall off in due time. So I knew I had this time frame. They say 7 years. But the car actually fell off at like 5.5. So I'm just building myself up through this journey. I knew I got these couple things left on there, but I'm building myself up to reestablish myself through those secure cards and then getting these other credit accounts. So then by the time it was close to falling off, I called them up. That balance was a little over $6,000. I settled for $1,500 on the car, and they took it. So now I'm good. So now I have no.
So then you got them to delete that too.
Delete it. Did some other disputes with the credit bureaus. I got them to wipe everything off of there. But the only bad thing was it took my good history out because I had a lot of good autos that I paid off. But I got everything took off. So it was like a brand new profile, only established like a year and a half earlier with those new cars that I had established. So I got everything wiped off. And basically it was like a brand new history, like it didn't exist. So it was like a gift and a curse because I had a lot of positive things that I paid off. But at least I had a clean slate and, you know, I never looked back since. But it took a while because I still wasn't going deep with the credit card. So I was like, let me get a car loan through GM. that should help boost it up. But it really didn't do what I thought it would do because I didn't want to get in a bunch of credit card debt again. So then I was like, this ain't working. This is taking too long.
Right.
Because I know I still, as I work, punch somebody else's clock to punch my own, selling cars still on the side, getting 1 or 2 cars at a time. But I know I either wanted to get back into the cars or the real estate or both because, those are 2 things that I was heavy in. And then, just had to figure out, like, I need capital to do the things that I want to do. So, that's when I figured out, you know what? I got to get more credit cards, but I got to get higher limits. So I created my own credit line increase.
Well, wait, what? Hold on, rewind. You did a what?
Created my own credit line increase.
How does that work?
So I called up one of the banks. I got a secure card and said I want to increase my credit limit, and the guy put me on hold.
Right.
Like, your card's secured. Are you asking for it to be unsecured? I really wasn't. I was like, yeah. So he put me on hold. He tried, came back. Unfortunately, we can't turn it into an unsecured card. I said, okay, well, I need the limit to be $3,000. So I want to put 2 more thousand on there and turn it into $3,000. He's like, I'm not sure if you can do that. So he puts me on hold again. Comes back and they say, okay. So I put the $2,000 on there. So now I got a $3,000 credit limit.
Okay.
So now I got a bigger line. So now here comes offers. Boom. Barclay, first one, $7,500 offer. Boom. Here comes another one. Then keeping the utilization low. Then I start getting some store cards, small limits on the store cards, and then every 60 days calling asking for increases. And, I got scripts and everything I put together on how to get the increases. And that's how I really got it really reestablished and got the profile right and just kind of started going crazy. And then 2018, after I got married and we moved, we spent a lot of our savings getting the house and everything. I'm like, now it's time to make another move because started building up, had a little bit of money. Wasn't no 6 figures or anything, but it was money on the side, but making good money. So it was like, how do I create some generational wealth again and get some of these businesses going at a faster pace than what I'm doing, just having 2-3 cars on the road. But basically the 2-3 cars were always have those 2-3 buy here, pay here accounts because that paid for our car. So like we drive it for free.
So and at this point, you didn't actually physically have a car lot, right?
Still my connections and relationships I built.
But you built those relationships. That's the importance of keeping
allow me
those
to still buy cars wholesale, $500 over their cost and run the deals through them, bring customers to them and get my commissions that way. So, I was establishing a few $1,000s a month just doing that. And the income tax time every year, I usually could make $15,000-$20,000 every income tax because that's when I would kind of go full court press, selling cars to people at the job and everything. And that's where it was like a beautiful thing being in an atmosphere where there's so many people, because it was easy to just flourish with other goods and space, t-shirts, just a lot of different stuff.
That's one thing you always been good at, making the most of the situation. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
So then, we're getting caught up. So you make the move eventually, right, down to Atlanta, right?
Right.
And tell me a little bit about that and what you saw and how it inspired you and tell me a little bit about the move down here, down to ATL.
Well, basically I was trying to get to Atlanta for a while, but they wouldn't let me transfer. I had to go to Tucson, Arizona, help turn some things around there. And, finally I got the opportunity to come to Atlanta and I just felt like it made sense, especially for one of my other businesses, my booking agency, 615 Entertainment. So that's why the core of the business is 615 Entertainment. Marketing and promoting for some of the biggest artists, but I just try not to talk about that.
Yeah, I know. You know what? Yeah, it's crazy because, that's something in itself. We ain't even,
Yeah, I didn't really try to go there because, like I said, we could be here for hours. But once again, the key is like so many businesses in play and, you keep finding different ways to reinvent yourself, but music's always the passion is, so always going to do something in music. But
let's be clear, you've booked shows with.
Yeah, worked with some of the top artists in the industry. We moved quite a few units independently back in the day. Like I said, that's another story, and really not trying to get into that because we're on another level, another direction right now. But made the move to Atlanta, and once again, when we had to make that decision, we're going to go full blast on the cars on the side. Mm-hmm. We're going to go full blast on real estate. Decided to go the real estate route. And